Hey everyone, I'm Jagruti Pandey. I'm the co-founder for Design Jungle and I'm also the co-founder for UX Gorilla. This video that you're going to see is actually a session that we did with Priyanka Goyal for the UX immersion program that I teach, a boot camp style training for 16 weeks, and they work on live assignments, they work on assignments, they learn all about UX and UI. And this session is from the expert session that we did with Priyanka, where she taught students um, how to do take home assignments, where in the UX interview process, how do you structure your UX case study, which is to be presented to the interviewer. And this is an amazing session that we did with her. The speaker for today's session is Priyanka Goyal, who is a lead UX designer with PayU. She comes with a wide array of experience in many multiple domains. She has worked with fintech, with food delivery. She has also worked as a graphic designer in the initial days of her career. She's trained in UX and instructional design. And she happens to be one of the first few mentors that I got when I entered the industry. And it was really a fun session. And it was really good to have her, and I'm sure this session would be very beneficial for you. So here it goes.
Can you see my screen
Yes,
now?
yes.
Great. My topic is that I will take you through a journey where I can tell you about how to write a case study for interview. So basically, what is interview case study? So generally, when you apply for the interview, they give you a take home assignment, and they generally give you like 3 to 4 days to complete that assignment. So 3 to 4 days to complete a case study is quite less. So you have to strategize in a way and plan it in a way that you can complete it with the best solution that you can propose. So the presentation is all about that how to present a good and strategic case study in 3 4 days to your interviewer. So yes, so if there's any question, you can stop me in between, and you should not wait till the end. We can have a interactive session where we fall back when writing a case study, because we don't understand what sort of target audience we have, what sort of things they will judge us on. So we don't actually care about that. We just care about solving a problem. But that is not the case. When you are appearing for an interview, you have to keep everything in mind, like to whom you are sending your resume, who reached out to you, what the job description says, how much time you should spend on ideation, research, or maybe creating a visuals, and each and everything. So first I'll talk about the JDs. Basically, job descriptions are really very important. We don't care about it much, because agar profile kehta hai UX UI designer and we don't care about it much and send our resume across, then problem ये हो जाती है. Sometimes they need like 80% of UI designer and 20% of UX designer, and sometimes they need like 100% of UX designer. Then you feel bad, like, I want to be a product designer, I landed here and I'm just making wireframes. They don't give me much opportunity to create the UIs, or similar, like they don't give much opportunity to create the concept, to strategize, to talk to product managers. That is because you didn't read the job description carefully, you didn't ask right questions at right time, you didn't ask about their requirements. So this is your primary thing. When you apply for a job, you have to go through the JD. Even if you are not satisfied the JD, you have to ask enough question to your interviewer, to a recruiter, that what kind of profile it is. So this is the primary step. You cannot escape from that. The other thing is like about the target audience. So to whom you are sending your resume, or to whom you are sending your portfolio links. So most of the times you will be sending your resume and portfolio links to recruiters, consultant, and HRs, and you have to really understand it well. When a recruiter is going through your resume, he is not looking how decorative it looks, rather he is more concerned about the information that is in your resume. I have seen like designer make their resume too decorative, add too many graphics to it, make their own avatar and all those stuff, which is actually not required. Because if your resume get uh, you know uh, if your resume is not selected at the first level, which is the recruiter, then it will not go forward because you have not added enough information. Plus I've seen like people giving this progress bar for their skills, which is actually not required. How can you judge that how much you know about a particular software or a particular skill? So you should not do all those things. You should try to make it crisp, structured, but you should not try to add too much graphic element, which is not adding any value to your resume. So you have to be very particular about that. Plus, when I talk about a portfolio, if you are sending it to recruiter, process really matters, because they actually don't know the in-depth details of the UX process, but they will look for the keywords and they will judge you on that how strong is your portfolio. In India, majorly the recruiters are junior recruiters or freshers, so they rely on the designer's judgment on your resume and portfolio. But if you are applying abroad, these are the technical recruiters. You cannot escape them. You have to follow certain criteria, you have to follow certain rules to create your resume and portfolio if you are sending it to them. uh, then the other stakeholder for your case study, interview case study, or maybe your first level of check is pro designer and head of design. So what actually they look for? They look for your approach of solving a problem. So when I talk about approach, it doesn't mean that you follow all the complete design process, or those bookish design process that is there in different blogs and all those things. It is how you solve your problem in a restricted timelines. It is how you solve a problem when a practical problem is given to you. So you have to consider that when you are sending a portfolio, your process and approach should be very, very clear. Even if you are writing your case study, you should define the process you are taking at the initial stage itself. Because that is a way they will scan your portfolio and they will know that are you a good fit in their team or not. So yeah, so it is like no escaper. You have to have a process. And means sometimes when I talk to designers, they say ki I generally don't follow a strict process, or I don't have a you know one process to complete do my design. But I think that is wrong, because every design is solved with a process. Even if it is not like a that elaborative process, maybe you have spent like 1 or 2 hour in ideation and 1 or 2 hour in wireframe, but you follow the process. As a designer, you should follow the process, because that helps you to filter out your solution, that helps you to break down your problem. So process is always there. You have to identify as a designer. Other thing that they will look for is your problem solving skill. So basically, what are problem solving skills? First, for your interview case study, basically they don't want you to think something out of the box. If you can think, that is great, but you have to think in constraints as well.
Priyanka, hi, Arshla here. So I have a question regarding the roles and responsibility slide. Sometimes it happens that in the job descriptions it's mentioned very generically that the role is for UI/UX. And I've heard a few cases where you are promised that you would be doing, let's say, UX, but you are given a lot of UI work. So, is there a way out to such things, or is there a way to beforehand know such things?
See, India is a emerging market, and design is slightly I will not say very new. It has been here since long time, but it is an emerging market. So most of the time, even the recruiters and people who are finding a candidate don't know exactly what they are looking for. So sometimes you get a UI work, like 60% of UI work, and only 40% is the UX work. But sometimes in most of the company where processes and roles are very much defined, like Google or maybe KPMG or this McKinsey, all these organizations which are quite has a quite well defined design processes. Their UX and UI designers are separate. So generally when you apply for startups and a product company, you are given UX and UI work on timely basis. Sometimes it's UX more and UI less, sometimes it's UI more and UX less. That is just because of the that India is a developing country and design is like that right now. The state of design processes is like that currently. Yeah,
Okay.
so that
So,
is, yeah.
we say it's like good to take a risk and go ahead and see if the work suits you or not.
I would say that you should not take that risk. That's why I said in my first slide that you should go through your job description and you should ask relevant question to your interviewers, because that will give you enough insight what sort of candidate they are looking for. Maybe the second step is that if you are not getting enough insight and you think that it's a good company and they might have a good work, then you should take a risk. But initially you should definitely ask question. If you're very clear about that you want to be a UX designer more and UI less, then you should definitely ask questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions or can we move forward? Okay, I think we should move forward then. So this is the other target audience, pro designer and head of design. So you have to be very sure if you're sending your resume and portfolio to these people, you should be very clear about the approach that you follow. They will look for your problem solving skill. They will look for the quality of your UI, because in most of the product companies, ownership matters a lot. So it's not about UI UX. They will give you one project and you have to own it. You have to collaborate with your product manager. You have to find metrics. You have to uh, figure out a way to do a particular project. You have to go and get the feedback from the stakeholders. You are the owner of that project. So product, so basically in product company things works like that. But in consultancy I won't be able to say, because I have very less experience of consultancy. So I won't be able to comment on that how things work there. But yeah, in product, if you are looking to join a product company, you will be a product owner. The other stakeholder is product manager. So it is very difficult to crack this kind of stakeholder, because basically what he will look for is the kind of matrix you are trying to solve. What is your user goal, what is your business goal, how you are mapping business goal with the user goal, what kind of solution you are giving. If you are coming out with the solution which includes high development costs and high uh, increases the timeline, that this will be the person who can reject you. So when you are proposing a solution, you should be very clear that it is within the parameters, it is within the area where it can be developed. It should not be something like कि 2 महीने भी लगाएंगे तो develop नहीं हो पाएगा. Then he might be the person who can reject you. So you have to be very sure, because he will not see your portfolio, he will not see your resume, but when you will be presenting your case study, he might be one of the person who is taking your interview. So you should know how to get his attention, how to impress him, is through telling in the initial stages only what kind of business goals you are solving, what kind of business user goals you are solving, plus what are the kind of assumptions you have made in your case study. So this is how your case study should start. I'll tell you about other things also, but yeah, in when as we go further. So yeah, any questions here?
Yeah, Priyanka, I have one. Jatin.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
from both of it's from both of you. So whenever we are creating our resume, so as a job seeker, our main goal is to at that stage make our resume in a way so that it will be easy for the recruiter to scan those things. So how do you prefer to structure your data, like in paragraphs or in bullet points, so that you're making your job of recruiter easy so that you can get selected? So I've done so many versions of my resume and still not convinced. Should I send them or is it okay to?
If you are talking about resume, not case studies, and I would say that your title should be very clear. It should not be something which is not so easy to understand. For example, if it's about me, you should write about me. You should not write who I am or what I can do, something like that. You should not be creative in your resume. You can add creativity by adding graphic which are logical, but content should be well structured and very crisp and easy to understand, because your resume will be first reviewed by the recruiter or HR, which is the case that they are not creative people. They will look for logical reasoning behind everything. Like if you have done your education from design college, they will have a logical reason behind it, that ki ha matlab he might have a good understanding of design. If you are from engineering college, he will have a understanding ki he might have a problem solving skills. So they kind of connect the dots. So you have to be very clear when you are writing your resume. Rather than going too creative with it, you should follow a simple guidelines and be very structured and crisp. But when it comes to your portfolio, I would say that uh, there should be titles, very clear titles. The content should be in bullet points, because then it is very easy to scan. You can use smiley with your with the content, so that it breaks the monotony. And yes, I'll tell you the templates as we go further, and then you get better idea about what I'm saying right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, so this I already told you, that before doing your interview case study, so what is your first round first? So first is your introduction round, which is generally taken by a recruiter or by the person, the lead designer or some designer in the team. So they will understand what kind of background you have, how much experience you have, what kind of projects you have worked on, and all those things. So here I wanted to tell you that in your introduction, try not to tell everything and where you have worked. Like sometimes I've heard like people saying, फर्स्ट कंपनी ये थी, मैंने यहाँ पे ये काम किया, सेकंड कंपनी ये थी, मैंने वहाँ पे ये काम किया. They are not looking to learn all those things about they don't want to hear all those things, because they already have your resume. They can read through where you have worked and where you have not. So the major focus should be like, what is your educational background, why you have applied in this organization, what are you currently doing in your company, and what are other things you do apart from your work for design and other hobbies. So this should be the format of your introduction, rather than वही मतलब audible resume नहीं होना चाहिए. The introduction should be well planned and well structured also, so that they should know that who you are and what you are actually looking for. And make sure that if you are applying in a company where you really want to get into, तो हमेशा ये याद रखना कि फर्स्ट राउंड में ये तो प्रिपेयर करके चलो कि why I want to join this company. You should have some data about that company. Just don't randomly apply. Even if you have randomly applied, if they schedule the interview with you, just research a bit about the company so that you have an idea. And obviously in the first introduction round, you can ask as many questions as you can. So Arshal, I think you asked me, this is the time where you ask about the job roles that they will be providing. This is the time where you ask कि कितना UI का काम, कितना UX का काम, and how the team works, and what kind of processes they follow, how they collaborate with the product managers, how they present their ideas to product managers, what kind of timelines you work in, is there any design sprint, what is the review cycle. So all those things you can do in this introduction call. So, okay. So now I'm telling you about the case study, like how to write a case study for interview. But before that, I would like to say that after introduction round, they will give you a case study, which will, for which they will give you maximum three to 4 days. Ideally you should be able to complete it in maximum 4 days. Sometimes a company give like more days, like 6-7 days, 8 days, but utne mein kya hota hai ki you generally spend 3 to 4 days only. You take extra time because you have a job with your like you there's a ongoing job and all those things, so they give you extra time, but generally it takes 3 to 4 days to complete this case study. And when you are doing this case study, you have to plan it really well. You should not spend much time into research. Try to spend like 2 or 3 hours of time in your research. And even if you and try to find the simplest way to do research rather than going with like बहुत ही मैं तो बहुत ही research insights सिखाने वाला हूँ और ये सब करने वाला हूँ. Don't do that, because they will not look for it. They will just see कि how many insights you have gathered and what are your assumptions. So try to spend maximum 2-3 hours into research. That is maximum. That is like good enough. In ideation, spend the most of the time, because that is the area where you will define the user and business goal. There is a time that is the area where you will actually propose, do sketching and come up with like multiple solution, where you will break the problem, you will understand the company goal, you will understand the kind of user pain point, opportunities, and try to map it. So spend at least 2 days in ideation. That is must. The other thing is execution. Execution is like you should have a good UI screens in the end, but you can select the main screen. So even if you are showing 3-4 screen, that is enough. So don't try to make the complete app. If 3-4 main screens are there, that actually solves the problem. That is enough. And iteration is the optional step, because when you have like a lot of time and you want to show something, like you have made a prototype, you have get it tested with the user, and this is how you iterated or your design, you can have it. It is good to have, but it will not give you any brownie points. Okay.
So Priyanka, in the execution stage for design assignments, is it okay to use design systems and mention that we have used it?
I would say like not go into that kind of complexity at this stage, because this is just a assignment to judge your skills. If you will create a design system, there will not be any return of it. Like they will not judge you on that. So I would not suggest that kind of thing.
So
Rather, you should spend more time in problem solving.
I would correct my question. Is it okay to use the existing design statements from like good
Statements.
companies?
I heard systems. Oh,
Design systems from like existing design systems from other companies. Like,
okay. Yeah, you can use it. That's not a problem. At the end, what matter is your problem solving skill, where you will actually not show the UI. The in execution part, you can use material design system or and design system or any design system. That's okay. But if you will highlight that, that's good. If you will not, that's okay, because they will not actually look for it.
okay.
They will just see how you have executed the problem, actual problem. Design systems are generally work in a company when you are working with the team, but when you are working individually and not as a freelancer or somebody, then it's not that relevant for a case study or something. Because what is the purpose of design system is that it makes works faster. But if during case study you will start implementing design system, it will delay your work, because you will not get this developed anyways.
So why I ask this question is like for my 2-3 case studies I have done so far, whenever I have started to build UI on my own, I've always been not happy with what I have got at my hand, because I don't have much experience in UI. But then for one of the case studies, what I did was I tried picking up the design system from from like material design, and the outcome was pretty good when compared. So from that perspective, I'm saying, because if your UI is bad, all of your problem solving might be affected, like how you're
Yeah,
presenting your.
because that is one of the main area of judgment, execution. हाँ, मतलब ऐसा हो जाता है कि UI अच्छा नहीं होता. So first thing is like, if you want to improve your UI and just not clear the interview, then you should analyze कि where you are lacking behind. Is it a grouping part of it, like you don't know how to group a font, different fonts. Is it a area where you don't know how to apply fonts in a picture or in a screen? If that is the area, you can start using the existing design system and start learning from them, like what kind of, if you're using 24 pixel as a height, as a title, and 16 pixel as a, then you should learn that these combination works well. So even if you are creating something from your for your own design, you should try to work with a similar combination. So you should also learn if you think that you are lacking behind in it. क्योंकि अगर तुम केस स्टडी करते करते सिर्फ डिजाइन सिस्टम ही फॉलो करने लग जाओगे ना, then you will get very used to it. In a company you might become a bad designer, because then they will understand कि execution उस time तो सही था, अब क्यों नहीं कर पा रही है perform. That should not be the case. You should keep on learning कि क्यों नहीं कर पा रही हूँ. You should keep asking question कि अगर मैं कुछ भी नहीं कर पा रही हूँ ना, मैं क्यों नहीं कर पा रही हूँ यार, क्या रह गया. अगर तुम ये वाला माइंडसेट रख के चलोगे ना, then you will not fall back. मतलब even if it's the smallest of thing, मैं आइडिएशन नहीं कर पा रही हूँ तो क्यों नहीं कर पा रही हूँ यार, क्यों नहीं कर पा रही हूँ. रीड ब्लॉग्स, रीड बुक्स, रीड, फॉलो डिजाइनर्स, आस्क डिजाइनर, लिंक्डइन पे मैसेज भेज दो, क्यों नहीं कर पा रही. until unless तुम्हें लगता है ना कि हाँ अब मैं कर पा रही हूँ, then it means now it's a green tick. Otherwise it's like a red tick. Even if in a company you will face the similar problem, and then you will face a actual big problem if if you don't go with the structured or planned way. If you can just pick people who are your friends and relatives, and the close people who you know. Somebody, मतलब ऐसा होता ही है. Everybody has a foodie friend, everybody has a friend who do not want to spend, everybody has a cashback lover friend, so everybody has that. So even if you interview 2-3 people, you will get enough insights. I would not say that interview 10 people, 2-3 is enough. And I obviously plan your questions beforehand, very random questions, but keep it open. Like if you are asking one question, like where do you order from, where do you order food, and they say Swiggy, then you can ask you can cross question them, why you order from Swiggy, why not from Zomato, what is the reason. So that way how you get the insights, and 2-3 people are enough, and that will not actually kill much of your time.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm moving to next slide. So this is the most fun process, I think, of a case study, which is ideation. I love this process. So basically in this, you have 4 steps. You have to break down a problem. So अगर अभी किसी ने इंटरव्यूज दिए हैं, मतलब यूएक्स के रोल के लिए या कोई भी जॉब अप्लाई करने के लिए?
Yep, I recently gave an interview.
So what kind of problem statement you get?
The problem statement I got was majorly, so I was interviewed for this one fintech app, and they haven't mentioned any problem statement to me. They just gave me that they have few screens, like they gave me 2 options. Either you can redesign their home screen or one of the stock pages, and they want me to come up with the problem users are facing with the current design and the current flow.
Okay. So
So
see, the matlab, what Deepak you are saying, this is actually open ended. How you actually broke it down?
yeah, open-ended. So what I did, so I've done some small research on it, like what kind of fintech apps, like what people expect from it, and also as Jagruti like taught us, went to the reviews, online news, what the company is doing, and from the reviews and majorly forums, I came to know few problems are there which are getting repeated or users are complaining about, and on that basis, I tried to create, or you can say, I tried to assume one problem statement, and I started working on it.
Exactly. So in most of the companies, you will be given open-ended problem statement and you have to break it down. So this is the right step that you have followed. And I think most of us follow the similar steps. Like to break down the problem, we actually do online research. We understand about that problem. If needed, we talk to some users. But the first step is to break down the problem, because we cannot work on that open-ended problem. We have to figure out 2-3 major complex problems and try to figure out a solution for that.
Uh, I want to
Yeah.
ask, but when you don't have a problem statement coming from the company or the people, so don't you think like 2-3 hours the research time we are talking about, it takes more time than usual thing? Like, okay, if I have a problem statement, then it's easy to do a research according to it. But I think my major problem, I think I was not able to complete it in time because I spent a lot of time in a research
Yeah.
because
So
I was not able to find the problem
enough
statement.
insights. So see, why you actually took time in research, because you didn't got much of the much of the competitors, right? Because you were not getting enough competitors, you were not getting enough
Yeah,
data about their company.
about their
Yeah,
own. Yeah, because the fintech, the many things are not open.
nice.
Like even I'm trying to learn the competitors, like I have to create accounts or I have to like subscribe for them.
Exactly.
So that was a major hurdle, I think.
Exactly. So most of the time you will not be given such problems where you will not find the competitors or something, because there are very less companies who give you the problem statement specific to their own product. They generally give you very open-ended problem statement, because the main idea is to learn about how you solve the skills. If they are giving you a problem statement which is specific to their own product, then obviously you will feel challenged, because anyways they will have a better understanding about their product, and there is more likely that they will reject you because you don't have that kind of understanding. So you can always ask them to change the problem. I would, मतलब ये सबको पता नहीं होता, बट अगर कोई कंपनी उनके स्पेसिफिक प्रोडक्ट की प्रॉब्लम दे रही है, यू कैन ऑलवेज आस्क देम टू चेंज द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट एंड दे विल बी हैप्पी टू डू दैट.
Yeah. And I think I like to add here, if they're not doing it and if they're making your job challenging, like if they're not,
Mhm.
they, there are companies, Deepak, I don't know if I should be saying this, but there are companies which are getting free work done through design assignments. So it might be the case that they are not good companies to work for. Because I think if you remember, Sahil also came and he said that the normally, just to make sure that the interviewer is not biased, they do not give you
Mhm.
problems which are of their own product, and that's a good way, or you can say the right way to do it. So it's
Okay.
okay if they are, as Priyanka mentioned, that you can ask to change the problem statement. But if they're not even too willing to do that, then it
Mhm.
may happen that don't take it too hard on yourself. It might actually be not that much of a good company to work for.
Exactly, because they,
Cool.
if it's a too small company, then it might be a case through interview assignment they are taking ideas.
Yeah.
So you can always ask them to change the problem statement and give you more generic problem. But most of the good companies will not give you a problem statement which is specific to their product. They will give you a very generic problem statement.
Generic problem. Okay. When you say generic problem, it's not bound to their own domain, right?
Yeah.
Or it is bound to their own domain.
Yes. So it will not be specific to the product that they are selling, the services
Okay.
they are selling. Suppose
Okay.
if it's Zomato, they might give you problem statement of creating a app for a teacher and student. It was a normal problem, and it was a kind of a problem that we were facing during COVID. So we can
Okay.
imagine those situations. We can find that sort of users who were facing that challenges. So
Okay. Cool. Got it. Got it. Thanks. Thanks,
yeah.
Jagriti. Thanks,
So,
Priyanka.
if it is not, agar, matlab just repeating this again, so that everybody remembers this, कि अगर तुम लोगों के पास ज़्यादा मार्केट रिसर्च में कॉम्पिटिटर्स नहीं होंगे उस प्रोडक्ट के, या ज़्यादा तुमको इनसाइट्स नहीं मिलेंगे, या वो बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड प्रॉब्लम होगी, then you will find time doing research, because because then you have to open your bank account, you have to understand different products. Like agar tum bank mein zyada interested in you, then you have to understand how banks work and all those things. So then you might take time to do research, but in 90% of cases you will 2-3 hours is sufficient for doing a user research and online research.
Okay.
Then the second step is to figure out the pain point and motivation and opportunities. Okay, cool. So how to break down a problem? We already discussed, Deepak already told us, but here is just a gist. So basically I took a brief problem which I was given in one of my case study, like build a food delivery app which is efficient and smart. This was the only problem statement I got, but then I asked them enough questions to get insights about their assumption, what they're expecting me to do. Is it more about UX? Is it more about UI? So I got all those insights by asking right questions to recruiter and designers. If in introduction round, recruiter takes your introduction round and gives you an assignment, you have all the rights to ask them to schedule a call between you and designer because you want to ask questions about case study. So you can take that decision. Never hesitate to ask questions. You can ask questions n number of time. Most of the company actually like if you will ask the question. If you will do your case study in silos, there might be a lot of questions that will come up when you will present them the case study. So it's better to ask them the question in the starting itself. So you should break the major problem into pieces. Like if it's a food delivery app, I actually broke them in like one tap checkout, recommendation, proper categorization on basis of cuisine and moods. Then you have to choose like 3-4 key problems, because you cannot work on all the problems. You have to pick 2-3 key problems and present them. So maybe you can I picked like categorization and recommendation, for example, that with the machine learning and smart technology, I can figure out the categorization of the uh, options, cuisine option and meals option, and I can give them recommendation to them on the basis of what they generally order. So this was my idea. Then it's like then further break down the problem. Now you have chosen like categorization and recommendation. अब इसमें क्या हो सकता है? तो it's like nearby, frequent, best in budget, time of the day. मतलब इतने time पे ही अगर कोई working professional और वो office जाके order करे, they majorly order lunch, नॉट लाइक डिनर और ब्रेकफास्ट ऑर्डर करेंगे. अगर लॉकडाउन का पीरियड है, जनरली लोग ब्रेकफास्ट और डिनर ऑर्डर करते हैं, लंच ऑर्डर नहीं करते. तो
Priyanka, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Actually, we have somebody here who doesn't understand Hindi much.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Ramya is actually she doesn't understand Hindi much, so
sorry.
I'm really sorry for
for that.
interrupting you. But yeah, you
Yeah,
may. I know it's in the flow, but you may have to continue in the English.
yeah. No problem. Yeah, I'll do that. So basically, you have to further break down the problem. So the first step is to break down the problem. Break down the problem to such a level that it becomes really dumb and it becomes really easy to understand that what kind of problem you want to solve. So first step is breaking them into categories, then breaking the categories, then further breaking the categories. So you have to be very sure about it. Then the other, okay, so basically this is the most fun and strategic part. So here you have to figure out the motivation, pain point, motivation and opportunities. So motivation is why your user want to order through food delivery app. The brand touch point is like what kind of features, what kind of services your brand can give to your customers so that he should order from your app. The pain point is what kind of challenges he is facing currently when he is ordering food online. So this is how you club this keywords. Basically this is a sort of graph, or you can say a sort of framework where you can ideate this. I have just used it like few of my case study, and it worked really well for me. So I wanted to share with this with you guys. So basically the kind of merges here, like the area which I have marked in black, actually gives you the opportunity. When you get to know about the opportunity, you become really clear about what kind of solution you want to provide to your user, because now you know that this is the motivation, this is my brand, what my brand services and what my brand can give to a customer. This is the kind of challenges they face with food ordering, and these are the opportunities where I can tap their attention, where I can actually attract them to order food through my app. So this is basically your solution. So for example, here I've listed down few, like the motivation of food delivery app could be convenience and easy. Maybe the brand touch point could be different vendors is something which everybody is doing, but food subscription could be specific to your own brand, like the hypothetical brand that you are creating for food delivery. Then pain point is when you are talking to your, when you have spoken with your users or done a user research, you would have figured out few things like delayed delivery. There are chances of delayed delivery, limited food options. Then they could be, this could be then opportunity. Pain point, too many steps, forget to order on time. So this is like you can provide them one step checkout, or food to forget to order on time. It could again opens a door for subscription based model, or smart app where you can give share the link with your user with a payment link that on WhatsApp or something like that, where they can transact and just order food quickly. So this is opportunity where you can figure out what can be done, what kind of solutions you can figure out. So this is the area of opportunities, this is the area of innovation. When you learn about how to use this map, you will never fall back in your ideation process. So I would suggest just try it out like 2-3 times, and I'm very much sure that you will love it. This is really impactful. Do this, like figuring out pain point and motivation for user. The other point is defining user personality. So here I'm not talking about user personas, I'm talking about user personalities. For example, demographic is very generic, like you can take a range of gender could be male and female, but then age could be a range rather than a specific age group. Then salary could be a range, where he stays could be a thing like metro cities, tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities, something like that. With whom he lives, maybe you can say a person with family and kids, bachelor, or maybe a single, something like that is called categorization. Then motivation to order food. So what kind of motivation he has. So I have written an example like lives in nuclear family, that's why prefer eating lunch at office or order food online. Then sort of pain points the particular category could have. If a person is a bachelor staying alone and not living in a family, then forgot to order food as I'm in a meeting. So then that because people forget to order food, then there might be a case they want a reminder, or they want some uh, guide some subscription sort of model where they can subscribe for these stuff. So this is the pain point. Need for ordering food, what are their needs? I need healthy options. So if you have spoken with people who generally order, they say ki I need healthy options online also, because then they start ordering from this uh, apps, these brands which give them healthy option, like healthy sandwich, bean sandwich, and all those stuff. So you can understand the people, you can categorize them as a health freak or something like that, and then you can list down all these sort of challenges under those. Then behavior, like general pattern. Social forces is really important, because social forces is actually changes your decision, no, a natural decision ki yaar my friend has ordered from some brand and I want to try out that brand. That is social forces. Some marketing collateral you have seen, or some offer or cashback you have seen, and you want to go and try that particular brand. So that is social forces. So all these are external forces actually encourage your decision making. So you should define your user personality and break them into these categories and try to work with ranges rather than a one particular set of audience. study, it is recommended that you go with this style of identification, because that gives you a wider scope to talk about your user personality, users and user behaviors. Because when you give up one details about one particular person, then in interview they might cross question you about different other things which you might not know, or which you might not justify. So try to make a personality chart sort of thing, rather than going with that graphical persona thing. So user journey is important. Obviously you have to talk about your user journey. When I talk about user journey, is like the kind of information architecture that you are planning for your application. You should create that thing. I will not talk about graphics here, how you make it, what sort of, you can be as creative as you can if you want to add smileys, if you want to add graphics, but then it should be there. Customer journey is really important, because it helps your interviewer to scan through your thought process, like how your app or how your solution will work. But don't make it too complicated, because I've seen people sending their resumes and portfolios to me, they have added, motivation pain point in their customer journey. I don't know why. We have like a lot of templates on Google which shows motivation needs in customer journey map, and I think that is not required. You can be as simple as you can here. So execution, yeah. So I've talked about ideation, because you have to spend 2 days doing ideation. But execution, you can spend half or 1 day. If you are good at UI, you might complete it in half day. Otherwise, maximum 1 day should be sufficient for you. So rough sketches are important. That shows how much ideation you have done. So you can put the sketches, but don't judge, don't expect, yeah, that your interviewer will get anything out of those sketches. It is sketches, and it is just to show your process. They will not get anything out of it. They will just see that you have worked on your case study very thoroughly. uh, so, and other thing is wireframe is okay to have if you want to not if you don't want to have medium fidelity wireframe, like gray and white screens, then it's okay. Because I think sketches and screens works well. But if you want to have wireframe, then you should have more number of wireframes than screens. Then it should show some flow, like the complete flow of at least one problem statement, or if you are not putting wireframe, that's completely fine. You can go with sketches and screens are mandatory, and 3 to 5 screens are very important. I have submitted my case studies with wireframe, because interviewer has asked me to just share it with wireframes. But at later stages I was rejected, and I understood that why I have been rejected, because I am not actually showing them the proper execution. In India, execution is screens, so they will judge you on your UI. So make sure that you should add your screens, even if they are not asking you to do that, because for them wireframes is screens. That's what I got to understand. So sketches and screens works beautifully. If you want to do all three, that's good, but two is sufficient. Any two is sufficient.
So, can wireframes and sketches have like a overlap?
Means that's what, like, you can choose from sketches and wireframes, but screens are mandatory. Yeah. So
I
any questions here?
I have one more question. So if like while doing sketches or wireframes, uh, you design a layout which is like it's a whole web page and there are no tabs or sections, but while designing the screens, you change it to tabs, or like you change the layout a bit or the organization of the elements a bit. Is that okay, or should your sketches and wireframes be in sync completely with the screens?
See, generally what is what is the role of UX UI? Taking you one step back, then it will give you a better idea. What is the role of UX UI? So when you are working as a UX designer, like core UX designer in a company, then it's your responsibility and duty to finalize the concept and to understand each and every element and the behavior on the screen, and then propose the idea through wireframe, which is a medium fidelity wireframe. And when a designer is using that wireframe as a skeleton and designing on that, so he is not actually changing much of the element. If it is tab, he is using tabs, he is not making it buttons. He is trying out different options of tab, but it will be tab. So when you are creating wireframes, which is like a medium fidelity wireframe, then you should be very sure about the component you are going to use on the screens. But when you are talking about sketches, then you can be as creative as you can. Then you can change, because that is like a initial stage of your ideation. But at medium fidelity wireframe level, then you get some clarity about like how things are and how what kind of components you want. So yes, your wireframe should not be too different from your screens. Slight difference could work, but not like too much difference should not be there.
Okay. So just to clarify and reassure, like in my case, for sketches, I had made the web page as like one page, no tabs, no sections. But then I jumped to screens. I did no wireframes. From sketches, I jumped to final screens. Therein, I added some tabs and sections because I felt that was a more clear or logical way of presenting the information. So that would be okay.
Deepika, can you come again?
So it's Arshla here.
Oh,
So I am saying in my case study for the portfolio that I was doing, in the sketches, I did the whole web page as a flat page. Like I had no tabs or any sections in there. But when
so when you talk about flat page, do you mean the like the white, black and white thing, or how you will define the flat page? Is it a sketch or
so,
some?
so in Sketch, I had no tabs or different sections. I had no tabs for the information. Whole information was on one page.
Mm-hmm.
But when I moved to the screens, I found that putting these information under tabs would be a more logical and better way of presenting the information. So is that okay, or
Yeah,
I should have?
from sketches you can, if you're directly moving to screens, obviously you can make that change, because in when you're moving to a digital environment, things got changed. But when you are moving from wireframe, which is a medium fidelity wireframe, to screens, then things should not change completely. Only 70%, 30% should change, and 70% should be as it is. Because when you are designing a medium fidelity wireframe, then you are at a stage where you have actually thought about your user behavior, thought about your um, uh, other matrix and other constraints, and then you are making your medium fidelity wireframe. If you are on sketches and directly moving to screen, then I could expect like even 80% could change.
Okay.
As a fresher, as a initial stage designer, you might take little time to find to figure out different construct, but with time you will be able to find multiple solution in like less period of time. So even if you find like 2 3 good solution or 4 5 good solution, that is good enough. Okay, the style and format. Okay, this is the best, this is about the presentation of your case study. So you can take two approaches, visual heavy and text heavy. If you are going with visual heavy approach, then you should be very sure about the kind of things you are showing in your means the kind of data you are showing. So even if you are showing data, it should be visual, it should have some infographics to it. So for example, if you want to take visual heavy approach, and if you are showing user research part, you can use that bubble thing, or you can create some infographic of it and put that image on your portfolio. So you have to try to make everything in a infographic way and in visually appealing. But if you're and first thing, like, this also depends on your JD. If your interviewer is looking a UI designer or a product designer more, then you should take that approach. But if you are applying for a UX design role or a very strategic role, then if you will go with a text heavy approach, that will actually put a better impact on your case study. So be sure that which company you are applying at and what kind of role they are giving you. For I would say that for a person who has 0 to 2 years or 3 years of experience, we generally look for visual heavy approach, because that gives us an idea of a execution part, because mostly you will be joining as a UI designer. If you are joining as a if you are joining some big or a good product company, you will not be given a UX work at initial stages. So visual heavy approach always work for less years of experience. So avoid long sentences, be very crisp about the kind of content you are using. Use imagery, icon, illustrations to explain your processes. For content heavy thing, 60% should be content. I would say that, a person who has experience of 3 years is expected to have this sort of case study, because there you can talk about more about your insight, about your experience, about your processes, because infographic becomes little less means you have less area in infographic to express your experience and understanding. So this format works better. If you will go to my Medium page, I have both the formats. Maybe you can refer to those. I've not added the link here. Maybe I can share it with Jagriti. You can refer to those, like how I have used the infographic approach and the text heavy approach, and you will get an idea about that. So you can use long sentences, but you have to be sure that even if you are using long sentences, you should use smileys, you should have some break in between, you should use separators, you should use some insights that you have collected from online. You can give it as a breaking point, or to something to break the monotony. So you have to plan it in a better way. So yeah, okay, I don't know why this is, but ठीक है, मैं ये वाले हाँ दिखाती हूँ तुम लोगों को. Oh yeah, ठीक है. I was making something, but ठीक है. So basically this is the kind, मतलब ये this is a kind of graph I have made कि how much time you spend on each process. So realistic process should be of 2-3 hours. You should spend more time on ideation, because that is the critical part. That is give you an idea how to innovate. You will find the pain points, motivations, make customer profiles and all those things in ideation process. Spend 2-3 days to this. In execution, 3 to 5 final screens works better. If you want to club it with sketches and wireframes, that is good enough. You can take 1 day to complete this process. The whole process should end in like maximum 4 days of your time, and you should not take more than 4 days to complete this complete case study. Yeah. So yeah, madam, I'm done. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Thank you so much for this, Priyanka. This was really,
Yeah.
really helpful. Really good. And kind of sums up the entire design process as well. So though we were talking about interview case studies, but it actually summed up a lot of concepts and how generally UX process should be. So that was amazing. Any questions for Priyanka, guys?
Priyanka, I have one question. Suppose, as you were saying, so if you think the problem is bit complicated and you can't work on that, and then you propose to change the problem. Won't it make a bad impact? Or if you want to change the problem, how do you propose that so that uh, it won't be considered as like they won't judge you like you are uh, weak at that point, or it won't create a negative impact. So
I'm
I
not
just want.
saying to get the problem changed if it is complex. I'm saying if it is specific to their product, then you can ask them to change. If you
But
are applying for Zomato and they're asking you to create their homepage screen or create their app, then you can ask them to change. But if you find it complex, then that is not the that should not be the situation.
okay, so if I ask them what reason I will give them, like why I don't want to work on that particular problem of their product.
No, that's okay. Like everybody knows, like you can very clearly say that, see, I would like to do the assignment, but I want some generic problem, not a problem which is redesigning your own company's web page. That's okay. Like they understand, and they generally change. They actually change the problem statement if they feel that the person is not comfortable doing that.
Okay.
Because see, I have done it many times and it is not that a problem. You have to tell it to recruiter. I know there will be some recruiters who get a little fuzzy about it and all those stuff, but when it is a company's recruiter, like the recruiter who is working with that particular company, he will never get fuzzy about it. He will change the problem statement. But if it is a consultant that ki matlab jo hote hain growth partners and all those stuff, then they might get fuzzy because they have to reach out to multiple people to get it changed or restructured. So agar matlab if you are yeah, so you can take that decision. If you want to work on that problem statement, that's okay. Means I'm saying that you can get it changed if you want to. Suppose Deepak worked on fintech product and which was actually not a kind of skills he is having, so he can ask them to change.
Okay, cool. Because I was just asking so that it won't offend them, why do you want to? I just want to know how we can propose that so that it won't make a bad impact or it won't offend them. So that's my only purpose behind
Yeah,
it.
you can see it's मतलब ऐसे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी वैसे, बट अगर तुमको लगता है कि सपोज फॉर एन एग्जांपल अगर मैंने एयरटेल में अप्लाई किया था तो एयरटेल ने मुझको अपनी वेबसाइट डिजाइन करने के लिए ही पेज दे दिया था. So I clearly tell them कि see, I want to work on the problem statement, but I don't want to work on something which is a company specific problem statement. I want to work on something which is more generic. Then they change the problem statement
Okay.
and gave me a problem statement which was like designing an app for old people, which is not actually something specific to Airtel. So you can obviously ask that them, but there are certain questions like, you know, you have to review and give your feedback on their app or on their critique. Basically you have to critique their website, you have to critique their app, then that's okay. Like that is not a problem. At that point of time you are not redesigning, you are doing a critique. But when it comes to redesigning, then obviously you are putting in some efforts and you are giving them your designs. So obviously you can ask them to change the problem, and if you are not comfortable working on it.
Or I think if you are in case working, you can also ask them that, is it okay if I put it out there as one of my case study? Because in a way you should get something out of it, right? You are giving your idea IP for free. And you can, so, you know, you should have some ownership of it.
Exactly.
So yeah, so because they're not paying you money to do that. If they are willing to pay you money, because so this is how my recruitment in my company used to happen. We have never given them any individual client projects to work on, but there were times when I had actually we actually gave them some problems around our landing pages and we paid them to do it. So it was like a paid freelancing project, and the one that we liked, we ended up hiring them. So that's always an option. If they're paying you for that work, then yes, by all means, you can consider that. but also if it's a very specific thing. So for example, in Deepak's case, if it's a fintech app, you need account, you need certain, I think they have their KYC, etc. So if they are very insistent on that, and if you really want to apply, ask that if there's a demo account that you can have access to, so that you don't end up doing all these things and waste your time where you should be actually doing the um, problem solving, right? So ask for a demo account. The point is that if they're interviewer, they are no way above you. So it's like a very collaborative thing, right? So they're not above you. You can ask for things. You can, of course, your tone can be respectful. You don't have to offend them, but be very okay in asking for what you want, because even if you get inside the company by pleasing them, in the real world you will be asking them for things, right, if you don't have it. So the whole point of interview process is to actually simulate that real environment. So give them a taste of that.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think, Jatin, it answers your question.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a question here, right?
Yeah.
So let's say if I've done my journey, etc., and now I'm just about, and I've done my ideation, and now I'm about to go and make high fidelity screens. Would you recommend that at that time you can actually get in touch, or can you ask for feedback in between? Like, does it leave a good impression, or does it help to get a feedback on that time? Maybe I'm thinking of an idea, and can I take feedback at that time? Would you recommend it?
See, taking feedback from interviewer will not be a good idea, because then it is like you have not made much effort. You have taken our feedback and implemented those feedback. So it might not be a good idea. But obviously you can get it tested with different users and iterate on it and show your iteration. Like, you can show that this was my first design, and then I got it tested with users. These are my learnings, and then I reiterated it. But taking feedback from interviewer at this point is not that will not give a good impression also, and will not add anything like any brownie points to your process. So that's
Thank you so much for your time, Priyanka. This was amazing. And
thank you.
we'll connect soon. Anyways, guys, you can reach out to Priyanka on LinkedIn. She also has a YouTube channel. It's Design Gupshup, or is it by your name?
No, it's Design Gupshup.
Design Gupshup, yes.
Yeah, so we have a one Design Gupshup session second Saturday of December with Shubham on design sprints.
Amazing. Yes, so guys, do check her out. And thank you so much for this, Priyanka. This was really, really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Jagriti.
Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. It was
Thanks.
indeed a great session, and I really got some fruitful insights which I can use in during my interviews. And thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy
Bye.
weekend.
Have a good
Bye
day.
bye.
Bye. I hope this session was useful to you. If this session was beneficial to you, if you like this video and if you think this was useful to you, please share your takeaways with me in the comments, or share it with somebody who you think can benefit from it. And if you are interested to know more about the UX immersion program, there's a link in the description that you can check out. Right now the enrollments are closed, but the enrollments for the waitlist is open, and the enrollments will start soon. And the next batch will be starting in the month of March. So make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you check out the link in the description, and I will be uploading more videos in future. So stay tuned, and until next time, have a great day. Take care. Bye.